of the sixth canto, and we have been listening, narrating the story of Ajamilaha, how Ajamilaha became a devotee of Bhagavan because of his experience of taking Bhagavan's name just for once, for a purely personal reason, but then Bhagavan responded with sending his own soldiers to rescue him from the grip of the noose of Yamaraja. Okay, so now Yamaraja's dutas, the retinue, the kinkaras, the servants of Yamaraja, the Lord of Dharma, the Lord of Karma, the Lord of Death. Also, that Dharmaraja is being addressed, it's going to be addressed in this chapter by the servants of Yamaraja who came back empty-handed and unable to bring Ajamilaha. They are back in the kingdom of Yamaraja with folded hands. Yamaraja, we couldn't bring back Ajamilaha. His life is over there, and he has to undergo the results of his merits and demerits, good karma and bad karma. So we wanted to bring him here, but we couldn't. So then they have to report to their boss. That's what they're going to be doing in this chapter. And then how Yamaraja is responding is all part of this chapter. It's important because to know that what is the take of Yamaraja on this whole episode of Ajamilaha being spared for a very flimsy good deed, right? So what is Yamaraja's take on this? Now that his employees have come back empty-handed, without performing their duty, how is Yamaraja viewing the whole incident? Is what in this chapter. It's very important because he's a Raja, he's the king of all that is righteous. So in his eyes, in his vision, did what happened was according to Dharma? Those are all the questions which will be answered in this chapter. So first of all, Raja Uvacha. Raja, I'm just trying to share the screen. I think I'm sharing, but I'm not actually yet. So just let me do that first. This is my shloka for the beginning of the day. And right. So shloka for the beginning of the day, which is, as you can see, Atha Tritiyo Dhyaya, third chapter, Raja Uvacha. Raja is speaking. Who is the Raja here? Raja is Parikshit. So Parikshit is having a question. For the sake of all of us, we won't have such questions, but Parikshit asks some of the right questions which can lead us to more understanding of the story and appreciation, recognition of what the Lord is in so many different ways. So what is Parikshit asking? Raja Uvacha, after listening to the story, Nishamya devas bhato pavarnitam pratyaha kimtan pratidharma rajah yevam hatagyo vihatan murarehe naideshikair yasya vashe janoyam. Everyone, Vasundhara, your mom is calling me, so you can ask her to join. Okay, so everyone is associated. Everyone is associated with the birth and death, and the director, Devata, especially for the end of the life situation, all that is Yamaraja. Everyone is within his control. He is a master of that particular part of everyone's life. How was he, how was he superseded? How was he neglected in this whole story of Ajamilaha? And what did the Yamadutas, how did the Yamadutas convince Yamaraja? How did the employees convince their boss, having coming empty-handed? because they not only came empty-handed, they were also, in a way, their duties were neglected by the Parshadas. Vishnu's servants who were there, Vishnu's dutas, messengers who were there, they didn't pay much regards to what they want to execute. And they overpowered them. So how this is all going to be, right? How this is all going to be taken by Yamaraja? That was the first question Parikshit is asking Shukadeva, who is narrating the whole story. Yamasya devasya na danda bhangah kutascha narshe rutapurva asit yetan munhe vrichati loka samshayam nahi twadanya iti me vinishitam. So Parikshit is saying that he has never heard of anyone going against the orders of Yamaraja. It is never heard of before. All right? Vritaschati loka samshayam. Even the human beings in the world are going to have this big doubt. Can someone cheat Yamaraja? Is that possible at all? I'll tell towards the end. Let me do all the slokas and tell the story which Pujya Swamiji would share with us towards the end of his own life. When people were trying to keep him alive, trying to save him, save his body in so many different ways, out of devotion, out of affection, and all that. So this is the questions he had. He had to convince the world that what has happened is in according to Dharma. How did that conviction was done by Yamaraja or his dutas? So these are the questions. Let us see what Sukadeva has got to say before he is narrating the rest of the story. Shri Shukavacha Bhagavat Purushair Rajan Yamya Pratihatodhyamaha Patim Vijñapaya Masuho Yamam Sanyamani Patim. Yamaraja, who is the Lord in the Puri, in the city, the rule of Yamaraja's place is a city. It's not a village. It's not a small town. Yamapuri, Sanyamapuri. Very interesting. These cities are called Nagar. Nagar, in the India, cities are called Nagar. That Nagar, this Nagar, and all this is all Nagpura, Nagarpura, Nagpura. So all these are Nagars. Puri means Nagar. But the word Nagar is very close to the word Narak. Narak means Yama's place, Naraka, Nagara. So all these are in India, most of the world also, cities are the where your, because of the pollution, whatnot, your life gets a little shortened. Especially in cities where it is so all buildings and concrete jungle and whatnot, right? So Yama is also ruling that city. So Bhagavat Purushai Rajan Yamyaha Pratihato Yamaha Pathim Vijñapaya Mayu Vasuhu. Let me tell you what was a conversation which went between Yamadutas, the messengers of Yama, and Yamaraja, saying so much. He is narrating the conversation here between Yamaduta and Yama. Yamaduta Uchuhu. Yamadutas are asking Yamaraja, coming empty-handed, Katisantiha Shastaraha Jivalokasya Vai Prabho Traividhyam Kurvatah Karma Palabhivyakti Hetavah. My dear Lord, the messengers are asking their Lord, Yamaraja, without being able to accomplish their mission, they're coming back. Lord, how many Shastara hai? How many masters are there? We thought you're the only master of this deed of, taking away people towards the end of their life, after the completion of their karma and all that. because the karma, and then also, giving them or bestowing on them the results of the karma, which is, sometimes good, depending on how much meritorious deeds you did, and sometimes it is opposite, depending on all the errors and mistakes and whatnot we might have committed, which we might not have neutralized. And there is always a mix, because when you don't want rain, somebody else wants rain. When you want rain, the farmers, sometimes they're during the harvest time, they don't want rain. They want their crops to just get dried up so they can harvest. So there's sometimes the karma is all mixed up. There's always some good and bad, always. And it is such an intricate, algorithm. Only somebody as visionary like Yamaraja, only he can give the proper judgment, proper, course of action. So that is the question. How can there be more than one master like that? It is so confusing if that is the case, because we couldn't accomplish our mission. Somebody else overrode what we wanted to do. So who is the real master? That was the first question. Edishu bahavo lokhe shastaro dandadharinah kasya syatam nava kasya mrityuscha mritameva. There is more than one department of justice. Okay, if there is more than one master of justice, then even the Yama's messengers want to know who is the one who they can work for. Who is the real boss was the first question. But then if there's more than one master, then they will be having their own take on the problems, right? If both the masters are going to be the same way, then there's no need for two masters. And if there are two masters, there's going to be differences in how they are approaching the problem. That is the whole purpose of having more than one master. And if that is the case, then who's going to decide which master, would have the final say on this person, versus which master would have a final say on a different person, because people want to get away with what they do and all that, right? So they want sukha and not dukkha. So maybe this master is more lenient and that master is more strict and all that, because in the case of Ajamila, he was totally forgiven, spared of all his bad deeds, right? So how can that happen? So it's going to be confusion. Kintu shastra bahutve syat bahunam iha karminam shastratvam upacharo hi yatha mandalavartinam. The other side of the spectrum is, if there are more than one masters, and that means what? The whole job of, meeting justice, the whole job of delivering justice would be just a lip service, because, there are more than a few masters. Everyone is a master, everyone is a boss, and everyone is their own self-employed. It's a self-employed, right? If you're self-employed, then you're your own boss and you're your own employee. So the bossship or being an employer would also be just a namesake, because you're self-employed. And being an employee also would be a namesake. So those terms would have no meaning anymore. Nice questions they're asking. Just like in a kingdom, if there is one, more than everybody is a king. And if they're sitting in a round table conference, who's going to listen to who, right? Ataswameko bhutanam sheshwaranam adishwarah shasta dandadharo nrunam shubha vivechanah atah tvam ekah bhutanam sa ishvara. So that we need one master who we can listen to. Shasta dandadharah, who has the final say, nrunam, of all the papas and punyas, of all the sins, of all the merits and demerits. We want to just have one leader, one boss. Please resolve this problem. Tasyate vyado dandah naloke vartate duna chaturbhiradbhuthoi siddhaihi agnyate vipralambita. They're saying we have never seen we have never experienced such a scenario where for the first time we saw four celestial beings looking so divine. They suddenly land upon the scene and they, they kind of, totally they totally destroyed our mission. Niyamanam tava deshat tasmaviryatanā grihān yamochayan patakinam chitva pashan prasahyate. Niyamanam tava deshat. Niyamanam, we were trying to pull Ajamilaha. We tied a rope around him and we were pulling him with so much difficulty to bring him to you. Because of your adesha, because you decided his life is up, he has to come over. Abhibhya tavedash adaja asmabhir yatayana grihān, to bring him over to for all those to these different lokas, to these different worlds, to experience what he committed, the results of what he committed. Vyamochayan patakinam. Suddenly these four celestial beings appeared. They cut asunder. They they removed all those ropes. They chopped off all those ropes. They pushed us aside and they took him away. Tanste viditum icchamah yadino manyase kshamam Narayanethyabhite ma bhairityayayur Yamraj, my dear boss, we want to know what really happened. In fact, it looks like something very mesmerizing, something out of the world happened. So if we are really qualified to know, because sometimes, it may be even out of our grasp. So if you think, oh Lord, if you think that we are qualified to know, let us know what really happened, because this fellow, Ajamilaha, would scream Narayana, and then all these four celestial beings will just jump from nowhere and say, Ma bihi, don't be afraid, be fearless, we have come for you. And they took him away. It just happened in a fraction of a second. After all the discussions. So let us, please enlighten us about what really happened. How can this happen? Sri Shukavacha iti devasa aprishtaha praja samyamano yamaha prita swadhan pratyaha smaran padam bhujam harehe. As soon as Yamaraja heard this, as soon as he heard this, what happened was, he was so, shaken, not out of fear. He was shaken out of devotion, out of emotions, because these people, these messengers who experienced what they experienced, that he was totally out of the world, and he was like, wow, did that really happen? That kind of a surprise Yamaraja had, and he was eager to explain to them what actually happened, with so much of regards, with so much of awe and adoration for what happened. So Yama was not, feeling that he was disregarded. He did not feel that he was disrespected. Yama uvacha Paro madanyo jagatastasthupastassusascha bhutam bhrutam padavadyatra vishvam. Thinking of Bhagavan Sri Narayana's form, Yama is saying this. Yadam shatosya sthiti janma nashaha nastyo tavadyasya vashe cha lokaha. Don't think I have the ultimate say over everything. My dear messengers, there is always someone who is above us, above all of us even. And in fact, he is such a Lord who is in total control in a way, like if you look at the cloth, look at this cloth. So all this garment, this piece of, this piece of fabric, it is having so many threads, right? So many threads which grows horizontal and vertical, horizontal and vertical. That is how this piece of cloth is made. You cannot even look at the thread. You only can look at the cloth. But this cloth is just a name given to a form created by the raw material called thread. Right? So the Lord, who is the raw material for the entire creation in that way, it is natural that he is the one who is in real control. Because he is the one who is the cause, like the thread is the cause for this clothing. The woof and waff, they say in English. Sometimes they make this woolen sweater. The north of India, you will see ladies sometime when they are free, when they don't waste time, they make some woolen sweater. They're waiting in the doctor's office, or if they're waiting somewhere, they'll just keep doing that. So the thread is everything. In that one bale, one lump of thread, they will keep making the whole garment and all that. So the thread is in total control. If you pull the thread, the cloth is gone. If you pull the thread, the garment is gone. So that means what? For that garment, for that piece of fabric, the creator, Brahma, is that thread. Vishnu, if you want to make a bigger garment, you have more thread. The Vishnu is also the thread. And if you take the thread away from the garment, from the fabric disappears. Which means what? The Shiva and the Rudra, which we just showed you. The Rudra for that garment is also the thread. So this calling Brahma, calling Vishnu, calling Shiva, it is all the name, in this case, in this example, for the thread, depending on how you look at it. If you look at the thread as the one which is causing the fabric, the thread can be called Brahma for the fabric. If you want to call the thread as something which is sustaining the fabric, then you can give the name Vishnu for the thread. If you want to call the thread Shiva, in the case of, the thread being the cause of the disappearance of the fabric when you put it all apart, may it be so. So likewise, so you can see how only such a Lord is going to be in all control. Not somebody has got some powers, who has been, bestowed some powers and all that. No. The one who is in and through the entire creation, that kind of a Lord, he is the one who is in total control. Yo namabhirvachi janan nijayam badhnati tantyam ivadhamabhirgaha yasmai balimta yime nama karma nibandha baddha chikita vahanti. But we see so many people in control. How is that? So for that example in this second shloka, you see, if you see the farmers, if they want to plow the land, sometimes they may have so many bullocks, ox, so many oxens. They're all tied with small rope. But then there'll be one big rope, which will be in the hands of this farmer. So small ropes connected to all the all the bullocks, and then there's a big rope connecting all those small ropes. Likewise, you may see somebody else in control, but the real control, Bhagavan has got the other end of the rope. He is in total control. All right, so whatever happened is in perfect sequence of Parameshwara, Ishvara, Bhagavan, Narayana. So the whole Lord is also having all this his own. Lord is also appearing all this in all these different forms as somebody who is the leader of the Department of Justice, and then the Department of Fire, Department of Air, Department of Water. He's appearing in all these different forms as those small ropes connecting the bullocks. And then he's keeping in total control of the entire creation with that long rope. Here the long rope is compared to Vedas. Vedas and yagas, all those worship and all that which we perform for the sake of the creation, entire creation, to propitiate all these deities. Aham Mahendro Nirruti Prachetaha Somo Somognirishah Pavanotko Virinchah Aditya Vishve Vasavota Sadhyaha Marudganaha Rudragana Sasiddhaha Anye Chaye Vishwasrujo Maresha Brigvadayo Sprishta Rajastamaskaha Yasye Hitam Na Vidus Sprishta Mayaha Sattva Pradhanaha Apikim Tathon Ye. So Yamaraja is saying himself, Indra is listing all the devatas here. Indra, big list of devatas. Nirritihi, directional deities like Indra. Nirriti is the deity for southwestern direction. Pracheta, which is Varuna, the lord of waters. Somaha, which is the moon. Agnihi, fire. Ishaha, Shiva, Shankara, in the form of Srishti Samharaha, when that role is taken up, as I was explaining before. Pavanaha, the air, Department of Air and the Lord of Air. Arkaha, sun. Virinchaha, Brahmaji. Aditya, the 12 deities, a group of deities called Adityaha. Vishvedevaha, or the deities for the end of the, for which you propitiate, for the journey someone takes up after life. Vasavaha, Vasavaha is all the Vasus, 8 Vasus. Atha, Sadhyaha, Siddhas, all the Siddhas, all those who are accomplished in so many different magical skills. For us, it looks like magic, but it is their accomplishment, and they have their own worlds and they rule in their own rights. Marudganaha, Maruta, 49, this wind, there are different types of winds. Breeze and cyclone and hurricane and Andhi. In India we say Andhi, then Tufan, what are different. So different departments within the wind department. So those are all also having their own deities. Rudraganaha. Rudraganas are another gana. Like Aghora hai, Tatpurusha hai, Somaha. Like the Rudraganas have got 11 Rudraganas, 11 deities are within the Rudraganas. All those, Anye, then the other deities also, Vishwasrija hai, who have been helping in the accomplishment of the creation. Amareshaha, who can even give even those deities who give immortality. Brigvadayaha, all the Sapta Rishis, Sprishta Asprishta Tamaskaha. The whole list of the deities which I just listed, they're all free from Rajas, they're all free from agitation, they're all free from tamas, they're all free from those emotions which can make somebody agitated or somebody a dullard. Extremes, extremes of being too active or totally being inactive. These devatas are free from all those extreme pushes, so they deliver what is right. Even those deities, in spite of being so much of sattva, in spite of being so much of subtlety in their makeup, So much of subtlety, they are so subtle. Even they cannot know the ways of this Lord, this Bhagavan, this Narayana, who is in and through the entire creation, as I mentioned. What to talk about others when even these deities won't know? How can I explain to you about the ways of the Lord? Yam vaina gobhir manasa subhirva. So that is why I say, when someone is when there is some trouble or something, don't always try to explain away by saying it is his karma and all that. Here, even the Lord Yama is so humble in accepting and saying he has no clue what really happened. Although he has got the knowledge, the basic knowledge, the foundational knowledge of how the Lord operates. So that is how humble. So being very humble, being very devoted and saying we don't know the ways of the Lord is the right way, right approach when you have no explanation. And you can always say, how may I help you? Now that you are in that predicament, you are in that difficulty. Looks like I am in a position to help you. What can I do for you? That should be the approach instead of saying it is all the karma of that person and all that, right? So now let us see what else for the next shloka. तस्यात्मतन्त्रस्य हरेरधीशितुः परस्य मायाधिपतेर्महात्मनः प्रायेण दूता इह वै मनोहराः चरन्ति तद्रूप गुणस्वभावाः. Those messengers of Vishnu are no exception. You are saying that they looked like Vishnu. They are indeed filled up. They're inside out, they're nothing but Narayana only. They cannot be away from the Lord. They're very much in line with what the Lord, they did, whatever they did was very much in line with what the Lord wanted to accomplish through them. It cannot be any other way, because as I said, the Lord is in control, right? With all the explanations which was given about how he is in control. Bhutani Vishnoho Surapujitani Durdarsha Lingani Mahadbhutani Rakshanti Tad Bhakti Matah Parebhyah Mattascha Matya Nata Sarvatascha. So, Yamaraja is very clear. They are Bhutani Vishnoho. They are Vishnus. Those messengers who came from nowhere, they really didn't come from nowhere. I know exactly where they came from. They are from Vishnu. They belong to Vishnu. And it is very difficult to get their, darshan. It's not easy to see them, but you are so lucky. You have experienced them. You spoke to them. You had a nice conversation with them. That is how Yama is talking to his own messengers. Rakshanti tad bhakti matah parebhyah. And their job is to protect the devotees. And mattascha matyanatha sarvatascha. Everybody, their job is to protect devotees, whoever it may be. It can be somebody in the lokas, in any loka, in this loka or in the neither world. There is no barriers for them. They just appear wherever there is a devotee who's having trouble because of people, because of elements like fire and whatnot. Whatever may be the reason, they'll go there for them. So having said so much, I'm going to stop here at the sloka number 18. But what I want to also say is, how can you justify? Yamadharma Raja is a lot of justice. So it makes sense, it will make more sense to hear from him how this is also, whatever happened to Ajamilaha, how he was let go scotch-free, they say, right? How he was let go. How it is also in line with Dharma. Nobody else can explain better than Yamaraja. So that is coming up. When we come back next week, in the sloka number 19, we'll see the Lord of Justice explaining in terms of justice how is he doing the advocacy? How is he being an advocate and justifying what actually happened? We'll see that when we come back. So here I would like to stop the Bhagavatam part. I was keeping a track of, I told I'll tell you that story, right? The story regarding the first few sections where it's good to show the story, share the story. So Pujya Swamiji was, in Rishikesh. He said, I wanted to give up his body. Swamiji was saying that in the US also, when he visited the ashram, he said, stop everything, let me go. I've been here, done enough and all that. But our devotees, including myself, we all didn't want Swamiji to go like that. So he was flown to Rishikesh. There they want to continue the treatment and all that. Then Swamiji came and then they didn't want Swamiji to, leave his body. So then Swamiji came up with a story. He said, Yamaraja, he sent his messengers like it was sent for Ajamila. He sent his messengers to bring somebody who was a Shilpi, who was a sculptor. The sculptor, his life is over and he has to leave the earth. So Yama sent his servants to bring him away, take his remains, subtle body, from the gross body and bring him away, take his life, bring his life. And the sculptor, knew this. He came to know this. So what he did, because he was a great sculptor, he created so many sculptures which looked just like him. Okay, in the room there were several sculptures which was looking exactly like him, and he was also standing along with the sculptures. With the Yamadutas, Yama's servants, they were looking for this man, sculptor. They couldn't find him because all the sculptures looked alike. They didn't know where he was there. They didn't know if this was real or that was real. They were all looking so real. They got so confused. So they came back empty-handed to Yamaraja. But this time Yamaraja said, let me go and try. So he came to the earth and with his mace and big fush and all that, he tried to scare this person to come out. But that didn't work. Then he played a trick. He looked at all the sculptures and said, wow, these sculptures are looking so amazing. Who has made these sculptures? The person who has made these sculptures cannot be from this world because these sculptures look out of the world. So this person also has to be, some devata, be some celestial being. There can be no human being on this earth who can make the sculptures which look so real, so nice like this. That person cannot be real. And then this sculptor who was listening to all this, he was itching to, show himself up. And finally, he couldn't control. He jumped in front of the Yamaraja and said, I am the sculptor who created all these sculptures. How can you think that, I'm not real? Here I am. And he was hoping that Yamaraja will kind of continue praising him. He said, no. Then come with me. Okay, that is the purpose. I want to take you with me. And I didn't have any other way other than to praise you and make you feel like, wanting to come in front of me and take all the, praises. So the story of Yamaraja was told by Pujya Swamiji just to say how you cannot cheat Yamaraja. You cannot cheat death, right, for too long. So that story came to my mind when we were looking at this section in the beginning. So of course, the Krishna Leela is still remaining. Bhagavan Sri Krishna has now grown up. He can walk now. This other track, right? I was maintaining the Leela of Bhagavan Sri Krishna. So he was also feeding all the monkeys. He was not only eating butter himself, he would feed everybody also. Especially if he sees even monkeys also, he would feed. Animals are okay, some pets are okay. But, calling upon a monkey and asking the monkey to come and take some butter and all that, that is going a little too far, right? But there's a purpose. When you give, there are several reasons why you would want to give. In the case of Bhagavan, he knows Bahunite Yatitani. Bhagavan knows all his janmas in the past. So how much the force of monkeys were helpful for Bhagavan when he had the avatar of Ramchandra Bhagavan. In the previous avatar of Rama, how Bhagavan was helped by all the soldiers who are nothing but monkeys, right? So he knows. So when you want to give, it need not be only for the sake of this reason or that reason. Sometimes you want to give for the sake of clearing your debt from your janmas. One Mahatma, one sadhu was there, and there will be always people around him. But this one particular person keeps coming to him every now and then and ask him money. Sadhuji, because he sees people all giving him some few rupees and all that, donation, all that. He comes just to take money from the sadhu. He comes and says to the sadhu, I had to have a doctor's appointment. I have to take some, medication, whatnot, some money. Then he says, I have to treat my family, money. And I have to get my kids study, go to school and all that, money. So likewise, he keeps asking money to sadhu every now and then. Everyone was looking around and they were saying, Mahatma Ji, don't you see this man is a cheat? He is actually trying to cheat you and all that. Mahatma says, I know very well. Each time he comes with a story, he sometimes comes with the story of somebody being dead also, just for the sake of money and all that. But I don't know, I feel like giving him. Not because of any other reason, because when I give him, it looks to me, to that Mahatma, as though he is clearing his debt, some kind of a runam. Runa they say. In Sanskrit they say run. Run jukane ke liye, kadan, some kadan, to clear the debt, I feel like giving him like that. So likewise, Bhagavan also was feeding monkeys as a little child, not out of any naivety, just because Bhagavan didn't know what he was doing as a kid. No, because Bhagavan remembered all his previous janmas, and he was doing that leela of feeding monkeys. So I'd like to keep it short this time, the leelas, and we'll continue next time. And at this point, I'd like to stop and ask our host to play the 2-minute Arati Shloka of Swamiji.